Hola amigos, ¿bien o qué? Otro día bonito aquí en Medellín, pero hoy para mí terminando con día número 6 con este programa de los 90 días. Hoy terminé con otro capítulo con este libro de Breakstein. Todo bien. Y en un momentico yo voy a leer un poco para demostrar algo más con este reading comprehension. Pero primero es para decir, en verdad, cómo estoy utilizando estos textos para ayudarme. Entonces, dos partes. Una, porque estoy leyendo todos los textos y también las oraciones y las preguntas en el capítulo en voz alta. Cuando estoy estudiando, estoy leyendo en voz alta y después notando algunas palabras nuevas. Y especialmente útil es cuando yo leo oraciones completas, no solo una palabra isoladas, para una oración completa. Porque con esto ayuda mucho para entender el ritmo con la lengua español para mí. Esa es la parte que para mí es más útil cuando estoy leyendo. Es porque en el otro tiempo, otra parte del día, si yo tengo oportunidad, yo estoy escuchando mucho con las cosas en español, algo por el televisor o con algunos podcasts o algún video en YouTube, pero todo en español. Entonces tengo mucho tiempo contacto con la lengua, solo para escuchar, pero cuando yo vuelvo para leer algún texto en español, claro, todas las palabras y las oraciones y las distintas voces que yo escuché antes, con los videos, con el televisor, con los podcasts o cualquier, eso ayúdame para monitorar mi voz cuando yo estoy leyendo. So, here we are at day 6. At the moment, not too many new words in Breakstein's book, but it's a very interesting exercise because really what I've been doing now is a lot more reading, because through each of the chapters I've been reading aloud all of the questions, all of the vocabulary, and obviously the actual reading comprehensions that we've seen some of these. And this has been the really useful part for me, I think, because during the day, in between when I'm working with other students, I'm listening to things in Spanish. I'm listening to the television, I'm listening to maybe videos or podcasts on YouTube. This is to keep me in contact with the language. But obviously that's a bit passive because you're just listening. Where this becomes helpful is when you then go back to do some reading in the language, because you've had experience of listening to the language quite a lot, it helps you to self-regulate, really. You become your own kind of judge of how you sound, because you have things to compare it with, which is your experience of the things you've been listening to, even though they're a different text. So this helps quite a lot, I think. And if you're able to do this in combination, so listen to as much content as you can during the day, in your case perhaps in English, obviously for me in Spanish, and then combine that with your reading later on, I think you'll find that very helpful. So that's really the kind of the tip for today. I'm going to read a bit of this reading here because this is quite a long paragraph, this one. So I'll just read a bit of it just to give a demonstration, if you like, of how I'm doing now. It's been a week of practice. But when I'm listening to this as I'm reading it out loud, obviously I'm drawing on my experience over the last couple of weeks or days or months even, when I've been listening to all sorts of different podcasts or programs. So I got a better feeling now, I think, for how Spanish sounds, which helps me tune a bit how I'm sounding when I'm reading. And obviously I can focus this a bit more specifically if I take something like a podcast and I go through it literally line by line, and I can listen back to the person speaking in the podcast, look at the text for the transcript, listen to it again, read it myself, listen to their example and compare the two. I can go through things like that to really focus down on it. But for the moment, I think with the text I'm coming across now, particularly as there's not too many new words, I think the general experience I have in total of all the hours I spend listening to all sorts of different things in Spanish, this is helping sufficiently at the minute. But I think in another video we'll talk about how perhaps we can use podcasts or perhaps YouTube transcripts to really help us focus on perhaps problem vocabulary or more complicated words and phrases. Yeah? Anyway, let's get back quickly to this reading comprehension from Bregstein. This is on page 79. It's called El Tren. El tren llega a tiempo como siempre. Llega a las 4:26. Suba al tren con algunas personas y viajo a la ciudad. Cerca de mí, una mujer duerme. Ella descansa completamente. Pienso que tiene sueños dulces. Un hombre lee un periódico. Las noticias son interesantes hoy. Él lee con mucho interés. ¿Qué lee? ¿Está interesado en los deportes o los negocios o los eventos internacionales? Es imposible saber. Un niño grita y después sonríe. Un hombre a mi lado escribe cartas de amor. Otras personas hablan por teléfono. Hablan y hablan. Ellos tienen muchos amigos. Trato de escuchar las conversaciones. A veces quiero hablar con alguien, pero prefiero viajar solo con mis libros y mis cuadernos. Okay, well, I'll leave the rest there because there's about another 3 or 4 paragraphs of that. But I hope this gives a sense of how you can start using the combination of an increased frequency of reading. So in this case, I'm doing probably about an hour a day, specifically reading different things in this book, with the other content I'm listening to around the day, in between the day. So odd podcasts here and there, maybe some news on the TV. With the two things combined, I think it's starting to pull together, and it's proving quite useful. So maybe see how that's working with your practice. But I'll do another video shortly to look at how perhaps we can use, as I said, something like a transcript from maybe a YouTube video or a podcast to help us really practice on perhaps some more difficult vocabulary or situations that are proving a little bit more challenging in terms of their content. Okay, well that's it for now. I hope that's proved useful. Wherever you are, enjoy your afternoon, and we'll see you soon. Cheerio for now.